All right, welcome back, fellow babies, to SIFTD.net. This is the Pachter Factor. I hope you are a Patreon supporter. You know the drill. Figure out what level of support you can handle. We go all the way up to tickets to my E3 party, so really worth it. And actually, at that level, which is a lot of money, you're making a massive contribution to a really great charity. So we are supporting TakeThis.org. It is worth it. It's a mental health charity. It's something we all need more of, especially in these troubled political times. So I'm all for more love and less hate among our fellow citizens. So again, if you have poor mental health, then you definitely need to support TakeThis.org. If you can't join SIFTD, I get it. You know, people have limited resources or they choose to allocate their resources, and you're watching on YouTube. All I ask for is a shout out on Twitter at Michael Pachter. Tell people we're doing a good job and see if you can get some of your friends to watch the Pachter Factor. Our first question from SIFTD from AW08. Mr. Pachter, we all know how busy you are, and I admire the fact that you still dive into gaming here and there. What's the last game you finished? Wow. The emphasis is on the word finished, because I probably tried a dozen games last year, maybe more. I got really tempted to finish The Witcher 3. I did not. The last game I finished, I'm certain, is Fallout 4.
Wow.
But yeah, but that's only a year and a half ago, right?
I guess you're right.
Yeah. But gosh, you know, in fairness, I would say in the last 15 years, I have finished fewer than 15 games. So back in the day, well, let me be fair, in the last 10 years. Prior to 2007, I used to play the single player campaign of games like Call of Duty, you know, when it was single player. I used to play Halo and I would finish it. When multiplayer came in, which was started in 02, 03 and kind of got big in 07, that's the problem. Multiplayer distracts me. And so I tend to go over and try multiplayer. And because of multiplayer gaming, I find that I dabble in a lot of really stupid games. So it gets me hooked. Like I play Grand Theft Auto Online. I can tell you, I never finished GTA 5, nor am I ever going to. And in fairness to the Rockstar guys, the game is immense. I mean, I don't think I'm 20% of the way through. Partly I got bored, but partly I realized I don't have another 200 hours to play this game. So, you know, I know that I finished GTA 4, but I mean, shit, what was that, 08? You know, so no, and that took me forever. You know, I actually tried to find all the Easter eggs, and I tried to find everything, but no, I literally don't think I finished very many games this decade. The last 7 years, both Fallouts. I can't even think of both Fallouts and Super Mario Galaxy was 08, right?
Yeah.
What was the one after? Super Mario Galaxy 2 was maybe 2010.
I think it was 2010.
That's the last Nintendo game I finished. And I will finish Super Mario Odyssey, promise. I absolutely will. Didn't finish Zelda. Like I played Zelda quite a bit actually. But I was just building up my stamina. You know, like I'm positioned to finish that game now, but I never got back to it. I started playing something else.
It's hard to go back to after you stop playing.
I started playing Splatoon. You know what I mean? It's not like I didn't like Zelda. I do. I just didn't finish it. So great question. You definitely don't want to look to me for any advice on how to finish games, because I don't have the attention span. Our next question from SIFTD from V Nunes or Nunez, I'm not sure which. Why aren't we seeing more advertising in console games? I feel like the industry has the technology and potential to use ads in a more dynamic and innovative way than movies, but brands don't usually do more than branded skins or weapons here and there. You know, I think it's a philosophy that if you purchase a game, that you have a right to expect not to be inundated with ads. And so the only time that you see ads in games, and by the way, Activision was big talking about this back in 2002, 3, and 4. Microsoft bought a company called Massive that delivered in-game ads. and they paid like 200 million bucks or something for it, and then basically shut it down. But the only ads you see in games, other than what you mentioned, are what they call context appropriate ads. So if you're playing Madden or FIFA, well, you expect to see the Nike swoosh in FIFA, and you expect to see the the rim around the soccer patch with ads, or around the basketball arena or the football stadium with ads, and the ads are going to be the same stuff you see in a real FIFA soccer game or a real NBA basketball game. But those are considered context appropriate, and in fact, EA makes, I think the number is about 40 or 50 million bucks a year in selling ads in that real estate. So it's actually a real business. I mean, there's real money. But the answer to your question is, the publishers think that they would lose sales if they alienated the customer by inundating them with ads. And in particular, I always wondered, in a real world, like current day kind of game, like Grand Theft Auto, why don't you drive by McDonald's? Like, what's the difference? I mean, you're driving down the street, why isn't there McDonald's? And I don't remember what they called it in GTA, but it's a funny, there's like a fried chicken store, but they always come up with a funny name, like fuck you. And yet, why not KFC or Popeye's chicken or something? Like, really, the characters have to eat. What's the difference? And I think you could actually do stuff like, hey, gosh, I'm feeling tired, I'm going to drink a Red Bull. Like, Red Bull would be very happy to be in that game. So yeah, I think there's some context appropriate that would work in games like that. The answer to the question there is, the Rockstar guys don't want it. And again, because the Rockstar guys are fiercely protective of their audience, and they consider the relationship they have with their audience as one of trust, and they don't want to violate that trust. So it doesn't happen for a variety of reasons, but bottom line is that I think that consumers generally feel if they pay for something, there shouldn't be ads. So Netflix customers don't want ads because they pay for Netflix. If you're watching TV, you don't pay for it, you don't pay NBC anything, then NBC will advertise to you. Okay, our next question from SIFTD from Skimpy. What is the value proposition in updating older games to support Xbox One X and PS4 Pro? Will there be enough owners of those consoles to justify it to Microsoft and Sony pay third-party publishers to update their older games? I don't know the answer to the last question, but my guess is Microsoft and Sony do pay. The truth is, the cost is not that great. The main difference in a 4K game or an HDR game and a conventional 1080p game is frame rate and the number of pixels on the screen. So it's graphics, it's art. And it's really probably pretty inexpensive. I mean, these are things now that don't take very much personnel time. If I had to bet, I'd say you could do it for way under $1 million, just to update the graphics, yeah. So the truth is, older games probably won't get updated because it's a patch. I mean, they can be. New games, they'll build it in when they're building the game. So this year's FIFA, this year's Call of Duty, the teams know that they've got the Xbox One X coming out, and they're going to put the extra art assets in. And the game, the disc, is going to include it, and the device that you put the disc into is going to read whether or not it can read the data. If it can't, it won't. So a regular Xbox One won't be able to access that higher graphic fidelity, and an Xbox One X will. If you want to retrofit a game, it maybe does cost more than $1 million, but as you're building it, I just don't think it's that expensive. So I think the answer to your question is, I think all new games are going to support Xbox One X and PS4 Pro. Older games, I think that publishers will be selective. They can do a patch, but they're not going to do it if they don't think anybody's still playing the game. So maybe you get it for last year's Call of Duty and last year's FIFA, but again, they probably won't do it. Microsoft will do it with its own game. So Halo will be remastered to be able to support Xbox One X. Gears will probably be remastered because, again, Microsoft wants to support the console. Again, I don't think that many players care. If you're buying an Xbox One X, you're not saying, oh, I can't wait to play, a 3-year-old game, Fallout 4 on Xbox One X. That's not why you're buying it. You're buying it for the new stuff. So I think this is a question that's interesting, but I don't think very many people are going to do it anyway. And no, I don't think it costs money. And no, I don't know if Microsoft and Sony support third-party publishers. So you stumped me. Okay, our final question this week from SIFTD from Brad Bernian. How much say does a publisher have in deciding how season passes, microtransactions, loot boxes, etc. are handled inside a game? Does the developer ever decide these things? Ooh.
It's a good one, huh?
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask me if the console manufacturer decided. I mean, the answer is that the publisher has the ultimate approval, but publishers aren't that smart. And I mean this respectfully. They don't know how to make games. They know how to manage developers who make games. So essentially, whatever a developer wants to do is going to happen. Now, the publisher will say to the developer, come up with a plan for how we're going to monetize all the different things in the game. But the developer's got to do it. And so, I mean, the answer is, I think that the developer pretty much makes all the decisions. If they came up with something that was bonehead, like, hey, let's do DLC and let's do microtransactions, but let's give everything away for free, the publisher's going to say, sorry, profit deal. If we're going to pay you a salary, to spend your time and come up with all this crap, we have to charge for it. So maybe the publisher kind of works up like what they charge for a loot box. But the truth is, loot boxes are like $250, whatever they cost. I mean, there's kind of standard values for a lot of stuff. And so I think the publisher probably has more input into the pricing than the developer, but the developer has almost complete control over the actual features and items that are offered. Season Pass, pretty much, the developer comes up with a SKU plan and they say, we're going to put out 4 pieces of DLC and we're going to charge, $20 each. And the publisher says, oh, we can get $50 for that and give people $80 worth of value. What a great deal. And that's where Season Pass comes up. It's really as simple as that they try to figure out what's a compelling value to the consumer at the time that it's offered. But yes, I think the developer comes up with the content ideas, the publisher comes up with pricing. It's kind of that simple. Very few publishers are stupid enough to tell developers what to do, other than let's not have any sex in our game, or let's not have any Nazi worship or anything that would be a hot button issue. But short of sex and racism and things like that, sexism, I don't think publishers put very many guidelines on developers at all. Okay, fellow babies, that's it for this week's Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. We hope you have found us on Patreon and are a sustaining member on Patreon. And please remember that there are all sorts of different support levels. So pick the one that's right for you. If you want to just watch Pachter Factor, I think you can get away with it as cheaply as pennies a day. If you are interested in much higher levels, we go all the way up to the super premium, ultra platinum, titanium level, where you get a pass to my E3 party. And I would encourage you to do that if you can afford it, because not only will you meet all the coolest people in the gaming industry, including me, but you will be supporting TakeThis.org, which we care about very much. It's a mental health charity, and it's just a really worthy cause. If you don't support us on SIFTD, you can still give money to TakeThis.org, and that would be cool too. If you don't have the resources or care not to devote them to any of this stuff, and you're watching on YouTube, just give me a shout out on Twitter and tell me you appreciate that I just entertained you for 20 minutes. If nothing else, and if you'd like to follow me, I'd appreciate that as well. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. These are games that I put aside because I always wanted to play this one. I never opened it, you notice, but So I don't even know what this means, but Microsoft says this is backward compatible. Does that mean I can put this disc in my Xbox One and it'll work?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. I've never played this game. I've always wanted to play this game. I'm going to play this game and I'm going to finish this game.